It's good. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to our Sunday presentation. The next 3 months we'll be honoring Weir, Kansas as a coal mining camp. And this particular presentation will be by David Wallace. And he has roots here in southeast Kansas from past generations. He actually grew up in California, came back to Weir, Kansas to find his history and his roots. And so now he's doing our first presentation, which is going to be entitled Weir Mining History. In August, we will have another presentation by Lois Carlson and David Wallace on the controversy in the coal fields. And in September, we have one entitled Nuts and Bolts of Coal Mining by Jerry Lomchek and Larry Spahn. So those are our presentations that are coming up. And these presentations are being recorded online because of the coronavirus. And so we will have these posted shortly after each presentation on our Facebook page, and I'm not quite sure what other areas that we'll have. But anyway, they will be posted for everybody to see. You are welcome to come in to the Miners Hall Museum and to observe the quarterly exhibit that we have for the next 3 months. There's a lot of things in there, a lot of history, a lot of pictures. So we would like you to come and visit the museum. So at this time, I'm introducing David Wallace.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Thank you for that welcome, and thank you for the introduction, Alan. So, if I can get myself together here, I've learned a whole lot about a whole lot of stuff doing this. I want to thank Jimmy Lovell for getting me into this. I don't know what he saw that he thought I could do this, and I didn't know that I could do it until I actually started doing it. And it's been a lot of fun, and with all this corona, of course, it's been delayed. It was supposed to start 3 months ago. So here we go. We're 3 months later, but we're still doing it, and it's been really interesting. And the guys here are all people that have helped me with this. So Jerry Lomchek's here, and he's helped me a lot. And Larry Spahn has showed me around town and showed me all the different spots. I'll show you some of the pictures I took when I was with Larry. Pretty good stuff. Interesting to me. But I thought I'd start off. The thing that came to me when I started doing this is that this isn't just a story. This is my story. This is the story of my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my parents. And it's my story. And I'm going to start off here. This is my grandparents. This is John Hiram Wallace and Sarah Catherine Wallace. And Sarah Catherine Wallace was a Wallace before she married John Hiram Wallace. And that goes on around here, and we've seen that. And you might look at me and think that's perfectly natural. But the fact is they were not related. I've been doing, as you all know who are involved in history, when you're doing history, you're doing genealogy. And I've done a lot of genealogy, and these two were not related. So in any way, as far as I can find, I've been looking back quite a ways, and I haven't found it related. But my grandfather, John Hiram Wallace, had a dinky in Daisy Hill. He lived in Daisy Hill. He lived in Cherokee at times. But his 3 boys mined with him there in Daisy Hill. Very small operation. I don't know how many people worked there, but it wasn't very many, and it was his boys that worked with him a lot. And Sarah, she was young in her family. She wasn't the youngest, but she had brothers that were quite a bit older than her. And one of her brothers was William Merriam Wallace. And William died in the mines. And this is his headstone. And if you'll notice on the oh wait, whoops, no, let's see here. If you can see it, I don't know. Up at the top of the headstone is a marking. And that, it's hard to read here, but it says AOUW. That's the Ancient Order of United Workmen. It's an organization that a lot of people were members of in the mining community. They paid like $1. It said they paid $1, but it didn't say how often. I haven't been able to figure out how often. They paid $1 a week? I don't think so. $1 a week would have been a pretty hard hit. Maybe $1 a month sounds about right. But they paid and were members of the AOUW. And when he died in the mines in an accident, and you'll see on the funeral notice that the funeral was held under the auspices of the AOUW. They paid for the funeral because he was a member. And they also gave his wife, Bess, who was, he was 27, I believe she was 23, and they had one little girl. And they gave her $2,000, which in 1907, didn't make her rich, but she didn't have to worry for a while. She could reestablish her life with that. And she remarried, and she moved to Detroit, and she died in Detroit many years later. And I never have been able to find their daughter that they had at the time. But here are the articles that were in the paper of the accident. It was at mine number 18. But this says on one of them, the article in Columbus, the Cherokee County Democrat, it said it was in number 14, but I just think that was a mistake. I think it was in number 18, like it said in this article out of the Weir paper. And a large piece of rock fell on him and another man died in that accident, Robert Hardy. And Robert was married as well, but had no children, but William had a young daughter. But that AOUW made life a lot easier for his wife. And it was one of the precursors, one of the early fraternal organizations. It was limited to white men, and they paid to be in, and it helped out miners that were, you know, that it did work some for the betterment of miners altogether, but it also worked with the companies some to try and get working conditions improved. And there's mine number 18, and we're not sure exactly which one it was or where it was. I think it was out at Coal Valley and Highway 7. Larry said you said there was one downtown.
Well, yeah, there was one. Well, there's one at the corner of Coal Valley Road and 30th. Then there was another 18 that was just down behind Naylor's house back in there, but it was a Barrett. But I don't know whether.
Well, this said it was a central shaft at number 18.
Before it was a Barrett, it was central.
So we're not sure exactly which one it was yet. We may, and this is a banner for the AOUW. I really was interested in this organization here. This struck me as pretty. This banner was a scam from the Scammon Lodge, and this was shown to me by Joe Martin, and this belonged to his dad, Joe David Martin, who lived in Parsons for many years and was a coach and a teacher out there. And I don't even think it was Joe David's. I think it might have been his dad's, because the AOUW was quite a while ago. But it was in his family memorabilia, so it was, some of his family was in the AOUW as well. This here is Joseph Anderson Wallace. This is another brother of my grandma Sarah, and he died of the flu, December 11th, that's wrong, December 19, 1918. And this is right after the end of World War I, when there was that big surge in flu cases all over the country. And my great Uncle Joe died at the age of 34 of the flu. This is my mom and dad, and this is what they would have looked like about the time they met in Parsons. My dad was working for a guy over there. He told me he'd cut down big wheels. I guess they had big wheels on the old cars. He'd cut them down and make them round again and make 16-inch wheels out of them, what the new cars were using. And my mom worked at Katy Hospital, which was an epileptic. It was a sanatorium. They used to treat epilepsy like it was a mental disease. And she worked as I said a pinstriper, My wife tells me now she was probably a candy striper. Now, at any time here, I might say something, and you'll just go, huh? Where'd he get that? And be sure to say something, because I say all kinds of stuff, and the accuracy could be questionable. So, this is 10 years after they got married, and that's me down there, the littlest one, in San Diego. And that's my oldest sister, Teddy. She was born in Parsons. The rest of us were born in San Diego. And there we are again out in our front yard in the driveway with a train set. And that's me again. This is after that one. I can tell that I'm a little older there. This is my dad. He was a union man for Ryan Aircraft. He was in the, I'm not going to say exactly which union it was, but it was he was an aircraft worker. And he was pretty big time in the union. He did real well. This is observing an election. He was an election observer here. And he did real well in the union and became president of the union. And there he is after we moved to Torrance, California, and he's got his Lions pin on there. And I really only knew him with a suit on. This is him as in the Lions Club. And this is my mom. She's taking the gavel, becoming president of the Lady Lions. And this would have been around 58, 59, maybe 60 at the latest. 59 probably, most likely. And here's your United Mine Workers symbol. We have a member here. You have a 70-year pin, Jimmy? How can you have 70 years? When did you start working in the union in the mines?
It was a 60. I started working in the mines when I was 18.
When you were 18. Carmen, you got your 70-year pin?
No, I dropped out of the union when I became a company man, so.
Oh, you became a company man.
Yeah.
Well, that's what my mom called that, what my dad did. She said he jumped the fence. He was a union man, and then he became industrial relations manager. Did you jump the fence? Did you become a supervisor?
Well, I don't know, but I am a supervisor, yeah, I don't know what you call jumping a fence or not.
Well, my dad really jumped the fence. He went up into the office and put a suit on. Now, you were still working with the men.
Yeah, I was foreman, electrical foreman.
But we had men, then Harold Schuyler, he was a union man, went to company man, went back to union man.
Yeah, well, he joined the union after he got out, though.
Yeah. So, but I got my 65-year pin, and I've already got it.
Now, will you still get a 70 even though you're not,
Yes.
you're
Oh,
still
yeah.
in the union?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you're still active in the union. You're the president of, and what's the local you're the president of?
Local 14.
So 14, that's the same 14 that was suspended by John L. Lewis that many years ago when Howe was involved. And this symbol on the left is the Knights of Labor. And they were really very active in trying to work with the unions to get, with the companies to improve conditions for the workers. And actually, if you read up on them, they were involved they were pretty radical. They were involved in some violence and different things. A lot of things went on with the Knights of Labor, and I don't know half of it, but they transformed into the United Mine Workers, right? That's where the United Mine Workers was from, the Knights of Labor. And there's John L. Lewis. And there's some debate. Some guys say he wasn't a real miner, but he was a miner. He just didn't mine very long, I don't think. He mostly worked with the union.
He was still president of the union when I joined the union.
He was president from 1920 to 1960, or he was in the
Yeah,
union.
roughly 1960. I joined, I think, in 1955.
Mhm.
And then there was another guy, I think, after him, was his name Johnson or something like that, before Tony Boyle took over. And I think he or somebody appointed Tony Boyle. There was a lot of friction after
Tony
that.
Boyle. Okay. There's always friction in the union.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And the newspapers had a heyday with John L. They loved to put him in the cartoons. You know, this year's 1946, there's a strike going on, and John L.'s sitting on the wheels of industry there. Most of the newspaper coverage I've noticed from watching, just from the very beginning, were anti-union. The newspapers mainly were anti-union, unless it was a socialist paper or a union paper, they didn't like the union, and they always slanted the stories to where the strike had been a waste of time and not done any good. That's the way I read the stories.
For what it's worth, I was under one contract negotiated by John L. Lewis before Tony Boyle or Johnson, or Tony Boyle took over. And we got a quarter raise over 3 years. We got a dime, and a nickel.
Well, what year was that though?
Well, that would have been between 55 and 60.
A dime, and a nickel.
Dime, and a nickel. It was a 3-year contract.
And of course, Larry's dad had his go around with John L.
Yeah, well, your dad's probably still working at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, when was this?
Between 55 and 60.
No, he got cross-threaded with UNW. He was a Howard man. He supported Howard. And the main reason is the locals, he sided with the locals selecting their own district officials. John L. wanted, I'm gonna appoint whoever
Yeah.
you get. And then they came along with the
Loyalty oath, wasn't it kind of a
the
loyalty?
You had to swear your allegiance to the union, and he said,
Was
I
that
left the old country because of stuff like this.
Was that the Yellow Dog Agreement or something?
No, the Yellow Dog was another deal. It was after that.
Okay.
That's when you swore it was another thing, when you pledged your loyalty to one union. And John L. was wanting, he got it his way, but my dad said, I'm not gonna do it. He wouldn't sign the Yellow Dog, so he didn't go back.
He paid a big price. Your dad
Yeah.
paid a big price.
He-
It cost him his pension and everything else, so standing on principle can be
Right.
expensive.
Yeah, he was a man of what he believed, and
I think Alexander Howe's buried here in Pittsburgh, isn't he?
Yeah, I think
he
so.
is.
Yeah, he went to prison for what he believed.
Yeah.
Here's some other, and you see these are both sort of anti-union. Well, this one here, they're all out of step but John. I think that might be pro-union, but it shows everybody, and it shows the American flag going the other way, so it's probably a bit of anti-union there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, showing him not being very patriotic, but he's marching the other way. And then here, this is a higher wage trough, and it's like, you know, higher costs and higher price, and you know, it's the same argument is used now for not raising wages, is that it'll cause inflation and, you know, make your dollars not worth anything.
For a quarter for 3 years.
Yeah, that's right. And then this is I don't know what year this was, but this is a Labor Day celebration, and this shows you that the unions were big time in Weir.
Well, when did Labor Day start? I think that was back, what?
Used to be
20s or
May
30s?
Day. It started on May Day, was the original, May 1st, but then later it was Labor Day, which was
Yeah.
later.
September.
Yeah, but this is, Weir was a mining town and a union town, and there were strikes, and we have company reports over there, and you can see on the company reports, one of the things they list is the number of days and the number of men that were out on strike every year. So it was a normal thing that, you know, they'd go out on strike all the time. This is funny. I always like this here. This says a gigantic strike imminent. Everybody going out forever. And this is how, you know, they used this strike, the fear of strikes, the interest in strikes, all the, you know, strikes were a big thing. Well, what this is an advertisement for clothes. It says, a gigantic stock of clothing to select from, and we will strike the prices down until they are within reach of all. Do not run the imminent risk of waiting too long, but come, well, the stock is full. You know, it's just a way of using the interest in strikes to get their attention in an advertisement for Morris Harris, a clothing
Pretty
store.
cool. That's pretty cool. I think it would compete with today's advertising. I think.
Oh, absolutely. They do what they have to do. And this here now, this is, you see the date, these were flyers that were put off across the country at a time when they were trying to get people to move to Kansas. You know, it was a big thing. Now, cities, companies, any interest would want. They wanted people to move to Kansas, to develop this area, to civilize it, to, you know, to populate the area, make their businesses go better, get workers. And these are the kind of flyers that were up all over the country. Ho for Kansas, brethren, friends, and fellow citizens. I feel thankful to inform you that the Real Estate and Homestead Association will leave here the 15th of April, 1878, in pursuit of home in southwestern lands of America. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they did that a lot. And then also, they wanted colored people to come to Kansas. And the migration of black miners into the area was, you know, there was a lot of accusations made against the black miners that they were there to break the strikes, and that is a lot of why the companies brought black miners here, was to break the strikes. But a large number, as large as the white population, as large a number of the black population joined the unions. They didn't know right away, they didn't know they were coming to break the strike. They just were, you know, going looking for a better life. Like the flyers they saw said.
The land of milk and honey.
Yeah, oh yeah, paradise for a black man, one of them said, you know. There were associations of black men trying to improve the lives and banding together to come this way. There's a lot of stories about the way they were treated and all, and there was a, where was the stockyards? We're just down on, was it on?
Stockade, you mean?
Stockade, that was on Liberty by the Burlington?
You know, I'm not sure. There's a lot of discussion on just where, there was several of them, but they were usually the big mines, Central Coal, Western, the big railroad mines, and they had stockades to protect their workers.
Well, they were in that area. Now, the story I've gotten, the most credible story I've gotten, is that the stockyards, stockades, they call them, stockades, were right about where the Burlington Northern Track crosses Liberty.
That could be.
And now this is the colored school in Weir, and it stood for many years, and the schools in Weir were entirely integrated before Brown v. Board in Topeka. It was in the 40s when and there was at some point this school burned down. I don't want to say too much because I'm not real clear on exactly what happened, but they did integrate all the schools in Weir. And here's Clarence Tyson, his certificate for good attendance at the school, and the school picture for this is a 5th grade class at Central. And Charles Lomax is in there. I know Vernice Lomax lives in Topeka. And this is the Black Cemetery. And it lies, if you look here, to make sure I'm not hooked up to anything. This is Dreyer, which is northeast 30th, Liberty Road, Highway 103, and 20th, northeast 20th Street. Well, just about dead center, not quite, that green patch right there, that's 1 acre, and it's the Black Cemetery. And as you can see today, there's no headstones there. There were a number of headstones there, and the stories are just sad. I mean, what happened at this cemetery is not an unusual story. It happened in black cemeteries and black historical sites all over the country. And these headstones this land was farmed for many years. And I know for a fact that it hasn't been farmed for the last 15 to 20 years. It has not been farmed. The current owner, when he bought it some years back here now, he had it surveyed and had survey stakes put out, and he has not farmed it for the time that he's owned it. So it's some consolation that it's not being farmed now. But nothing's been done. There's no markers there to designate it as a cemetery. And that'd be a good project for the future to get that done. But there's not a black population in Weir now that's really interested in it. If it's going to be done, it's going to be done by white people, because there's only one black family in Weir anymore. This is in the same section as that cemetery. This is what happens in our area because of the mining. This is down just off, that's Liberty Road right down there. And this is on Carl Moose's property. And it's a sinkhole. And that happens around here a lot because of the shaft mines.
Has he notified the surface mining office of that? Because they'll fix it.
I don't think what will they fill it?
Yeah, they will come in, dig that out to a fairly stable base, and they will fill it, and he'll be able to farm it.
I talked to him about it. He seemed to think, he wasn't too worried about it. He thought he'd do something about it, something himself sometime, just put some stuff in there. But
All he's gotta do is call them or go into the office and put it on the list, and that will be fixed. No cost to him whatsoever.
I don't know if he knows or not.
Have him call me.
Well, I see him.
That's
I'll let him
probably
know.
the shaft rather than a sinkhole. I'd say that's the shaft going down.
You think that's a shaft?
Yeah, I don't think it's a sinkhole. There's one in West Mineral similar to that, Crescent Mine.
Well, I know that on the property near us, Connie's sister's place, there were shaft holes, you know.
When I was a kid, some of them were still open. People throw their trash.
I think that's what they did with these. That's right.
Tracy just called them K-holes, so I don't know
Yeah,
if they were
just
caves
K-holes.
or what.
Well, you guys know this one here. Now, did you guys work on this before you worked on Brutus? Oh, that's not it. That's the 5560. That's a different one. Excuse me, again. But this worked in Cherokee County.
Who owned that one?
Jayhawk Coal. This is a picture of the shovel that's in front of Crawford County Historical Society. I think it's kind of ironic. There it is. This is the Crawford County. And the biggest piece of historical equipment is from Cherokee County, and from Weir, no less. There's the Markley shovel. And Jimmy Lovell, along with, I don't know, did you work on that too, Carmen?
Yeah, he helped me. Yep. It's Carmen and I, a couple of other guys that got it moved over there.
Well, tell them about this, Jimmy. This is the,
Well, this is a shovel that was hand-built back, I don't know what year it was, by Perry Markley. A lot of the parts come out of a junkyard in Joplin. And he put it all together and he stripped dirt off the coal. He would do that, see, in the summertime, he would strip and stock it all up, and in the wintertime, he would haul it, I believe, with wagons and horses too, and deliver it to different people in the area.
oh, he actually delivered the coal well, I think that's what my grandpa did. He actually delivered the coal. Of course, there were brokers in Weir. You could sell it to brokers in Weir, but you could sell it to a broker, or you could deliver it to people yourself.
This is historical. And when you first went to work for P&M, 100 years ago for me, that's the first story you heard is about how Bucyrus Erie stole Perry Markley's idea. And the reason it's in the prominent location it's sitting right now is because of that story and facts to back it up. There was an article in the 1930 Illustrated Mechanics about his homemade shovel. In it, I believe it describes his pipe slipping through a sleeve, and he could dig a ton of coal with a gallon of gas and stuff like this. This was in 1930 Illustrated Mechanics, so he was already in operation, which means he probably built that in the late 20s. And according to the Markleys, Bucyrus Erie sent some representative down and sat on the bank and took pictures of it. And the first shovel that I'm aware of that Bucyrus Erie built with his idea was in 1935 at 950B. Now, there may have been some before that, but the article is 1930. See if you can find a Bucyrus Erie shovel with that cable retract before 1930.
Cable retract, you call it.
Cable crowd and retract is backing up. Cable crowd, cable retract.
Well, this is the original design that was used to build Big Brutus.
Well, Bucyrus Company Design, they made several models with his Markley's ideal. I mean, from small ones to large ones. The largest one was a 3850.
See anybody there you know, Jimmy?
I know every one of them.
Jim, Larry, are you in that picture?
Yep.
I couldn't find you. I found Carmen.
Orange hat.
I guess that's Gigi right in the middle.
BG's right in the middle. I'm right down there on the.
You're right there on the right side of the sign there.
I'm on the other side.
And then Larry's on the other side in the red hat.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hide
But
under your hat.
back to the red dog, that stick there that comes down there, the advantage of that was when you dug rock, it would swivel. Where you had what do you call it, the pinion and
Rack and
Rack and pinion.
Rack and pinion.
there was two of them went down like that. Well, you'd break one or twist one. Or this
Oh.
here, that bucket
It
would
was
twist.
one, and if it moved, it didn't break anything.
No,
It
it
just kept
swiveled
going.
back and forth, and that's
Oh,
what
okay.
they designed.
There's that same one again. Well, I thought you'd need to see that twice.
That's a Marion machine, that's not a Bucyrus series.
And it got a rack and pinion on it.
Oh, darn it. Now, for me, one of the first things I asked when I started doing this, where are the mines? Where were the mines? And nobody, you couldn't find, it was, I talked to Larry about it, and thanks to Larry, this right here, to me, is the most important thing we found in this display, the most important thing I've discovered and have managed to dig up. And Larry went over to the Department of Mines and worked with Tony over there, and we got these copies of this map. And this shows where the different mines are, who mined where. I can find my house on that map and see that I was right over a Keith and Perry mine. Larry can look where his house is and see where anybody in Weir can look around in there and see who was mining over them. The colored areas, I guess they have more detailed maps of some of that over at the Department of Mines. And it's a bit controversial. There's certain people that don't want everybody to know how undermined this area is, but the fact is, all the way from Minden Mines all the way down to Columbus,
West Mineral.
we've taken all the coal out, we've undermined this whole area, and there's consequences to be paid for that. What they are, how long it's gonna take, when it's gonna happen, or what's gonna happen is yet to be determined, but we've taken what we wanted, and this is what we've left behind, is an undermined area. This is Scammon, Corona, Roseland, Kiddale, Mackey.
You can see by those colored areas, those are actual mines that we have. We have the hard copies, and they're also on the computer, but you can see the room and pillar method that they use with the main entries and the side entries and turning the rooms off. You can also see the faulty areas where there wasn't no use digging in the areas that you see white on that purple. There wasn't any coal there. There was horsebacks or whatever you might want to call them, and they just went around them.
Did you have records of when they backed out of the mines and took the pillars?
Our best map's the one that says final on them, and we don't have a complete set of maps, but yeah, that's,
That was probably entrepreneurs did that.
Now, this
no,
doesn't
that was
show,
the companies that did.
Did.
The
this
companies-
doesn't show the strip mines on it?
Some mines, if you scroll down, you can see a few, but the strip mines, most all that was the Weir Pittsburgh scene, but they came along later when the technology got better to take the Fleming, the Bevier, the Mineral. That was taken by stripping.
Yeah, they mined the mineral seam underground in West Mineral.
Yeah, it was pretty thick in places. I think the Crescent Mine was in the.
Yeah, the Crescent Mine, because when I drill holes in West Mineral, I'd hit that at about 60 feet.
Yep.
And hit Weir Pittsburgh about 160, so it was about 100 foot of separation.
Did they take core drillings before they dug to see what was down there?
Prospect drills.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an old prospect drill in the British Museum. It's right there at the north end. This guy from Mulberry had his own, and he charge the companies to prospect it as a churn drill.
And tell them what they were gonna find when they got over there, got there.
Hand built.
This is that Sanborn you told me about.
Okay, you went.
And this is, I went and got this map here of, and this shows downtown Weir. And all the streets, and the year on this is right up there, it's 1893. And this Sanborn, and you can look this up on the internet, and anybody can go in there and look at these. And the streets in Weir were all numbered. There's no names on these streets. Well, they had Main Street. I guess there are a couple names. But mostly these are numbered streets in Weir in 1893. About 20 years after the founding of Weir. Weir was founded in 1875. Actually, it was founded in 72. It was incorporated in 75.
Is Main Street 103?
Yes, it is. And so I'm going to show you some of the things that you can go to now and see that were there, that have been there for many, many years. And this is a Texaco station right down there in Weir, and the water tower, and they're all still there. Dave Mason rebuilt this here and made it real pretty. It's kind of taken a little beating since he did it, but it's a real treasure, really, that little Texaco station. It's kind of almost like a dollhouse, or almost like it's not real, but that was a real.
Was it Charlie Troutman was the last one to operate that station?
Troutman Station, we
He
call it.
lived right behind there.
That's right, in that house. Was that guy that lived there, was he related to him? The guy that was doing that? Well, I'll get that. And there's Jackson's Grocery.
Sanitary grocery.
Jackson's Sanitary Grocery, that's at the corner of Dryer and Main. Dryer is 30th Northeast 30th and Main. And that store still stands. And I guess they put a metal roof on it.
Yeah, they did.
That's been a while. There's the Brickyard. And I haven't really covered much on the Brickyard. I have a lot to find out about it. I've read articles on it, and I can't really even figure out. You were telling me it started out east of Wildcat Storage.
Yep.
And not here. This is down south of town, south of Weir. But it's in the city limits, isn't it?
I don't know. Maybe.
I should figure that out.
That's all bitten or off-spec brick that they fill everything with it. You
But-
could go out there and buy that, if you wanted fill material, park your truck there and then fill it up for you. You want to leave it a week or
Oh,
whatever.
with fill material.
Yeah, they use them bricks for fill
I
material.
actually bought brick there after 1980, my chimney, I built a home there, that's where I got the brick, went over Weir and got it.
Well, that's what it looks like now. It's abandoned, it's been sold. From what I can tell, it'll never be a brickyard again.
No, it's gone. When Buffett bought it, it was making money, but it wasn't making enough money, so the bean counters, it's gone.
But originally, the brick plant in Weir was just on Main Street, just north of Main Street, in property that's now owned by David Strickland.
Yeah.
And they came there to Weir, and they did the same thing here for a while, but they made the bricks, the clay was there, and they used the coal to bake the bricks. And so that's why they came to Weir, because you had everything you needed right there.
Real good grade of fire clay for brick making. Dickey Clay took advantage of it too.
This is not far from Larry's house. You call this a powder?
Yes,
Powder.
that was a powder house from Central Mine number 39. It's the Kukovich home place, and my dad helped them move that from the mine to there. And the guy added on a little on the back and on the end, but the original building's right there. When the paint fades, you can see 39 up there in that top.
Oh, okay. But that was a explosive storage, powder house, Larry calls it. Jerry showed me this. This is on South 210th in Crawford County, and this is the last remaining horse pits. These coal pits were dug with horses and a drag shovel. Slip. And that's right there in Kirkwood on 210. It's south of 530 and north of 520 on the east side of South 210 Street. This is the, now, you're talking about the front metal building was the Scammon Depot. This is the Scammon Depot here, and it sits now just south of Josie's, about a half a block. But it used to sit over where the railroad tracks are in Scammon now, on Katy Street, and that's been there, that's a long time. That's an old building. Here's the railroad trestles, supports for the trolley there, and that's Katy Street right up there. And
A streetcar, I think, if I remember right, when I was a kid, I think there were still rails going into Scammon.
Yeah, there's a good picture I see on a postcard of the streetcar coming from the north down Main Street right towards Josie's. That's a real neat picture.
And there's this, now you say this is a modern dump. This was made lately.
That was part of the reclamation and remediation. That was the site of an old lead and zinc smelter. And that was all contaminated, and why the EPA did it like that, I don't know. But they dug a big hole back here, and they took all this stuff up. They put it in that hole, and then they put the dirt and clay over the top of it.
Well, this mound here is right off of Katy. There's a, is that slurry in front of there, or is that a pond?
That's a pond.
That is a pond.
That's just it'll fill up.
This is right off Katy. If you look north there in Scammon on Katy Street, just north of those railroad trestles, you'll see this mound here. There's the Gay Parita. No presentation of Southeast Kansas complete without a mention of the Gay Parita. This was built by Pietro Ferraro, and his grandson Denny Ferraro lives here in Pittsburgh. Yeah, and his son had, Frank Ferraro had Ferraro Plumbing and Heating, and even Dennis took a whack at that plumbing and heating for a while, but he got out of it.
Dennis's mother's name was Adelia Crazelia.
Adelia Crazelia, that's right. Just makes you happy saying it, doesn't it?
You know, as a kid, we ate Thanksgiving dinner with that family. They lived up in Edison. That's where they were from.
Where's Edison?
Down the road.
Between Girard and Arma.
I've missed that one. There's so many birds around
It's
here.
about 3 miles where you turn and go to 50 Camp. And that's, you know, you get all that stuff.
Isn't it interesting? You know, I mean, there were so many little towns, and you can't go 10 miles in southeast Kansas without hitting another little town. And that's what made the population, an interesting subject that I haven't really touched on much is the population of Weir. There was all this talk about the population of Weir. And really, the population of Weir was never really over about 3,200. But you had 40 coal camps within the township there, right within, and they all came to Weir to shop, and Weir was a busy, busy town. And there were close to 10,000 people within, you know, spitting distance of Weir. And there were all those little coal camps, and if you look at the Pittsburgh Weir coal field map, and you look at all the little coal camps, there are several hundred people lived at each one of those, working those camps, working those mine shafts.
That was one of the few places that you could go and get free flying lessons. And you set up on the balcony area and just watch who you got in an argument with.
There's more stories than everybody got a story of the Gay Parita.
They had a fancy bar too. It was probably worth a fortune now.
This is the old, now I call them general stores. What did you call these stores that were all over the place? Every town had one of these stores. It's the stores that are 2 stories. A family would live upstairs and run a store and a post office downstairs. There's one in Riverton that's real nice condition. This is what's happened to the one in Corona. And this is the one that Pietro Ferraro ran.
I'll be darned.
It's only a couple blocks from the Gay Parita where he built that.
Yeah, Joe, he was the last one to run it. He ran the post office, the store, and he had a gas station out of that. And that, we got the post office out of there. He called us with the Corona Depot just down the street. And he said, you guys want this, it's a modular unit. I think it's out of the 50s. We got all the boxes up front, everything. It's sitting there in that box car don't know what we're ever gonna do.
And there's the Corona Depot. And this is just a piece of it. There's how many buildings you have out there? You got 6 or 7 buildings out there, don't
There's
you?
motor car sheds and museums and stuff like that.
And a number of railroad cars and engines and,
That one is, actually, that's an 1870s depot, that the Corona Depot used to look exactly like that before it was torn down in the fall of 1941 in November. They embargoed everything after the war started, and the original Corona Depot looked like that. The one that they just had enough wood to make the little one that's there now. So there's a lot of stories out there.
I'm confused about that because I know where that old Chrono Depot said. It was right off of 102 Highway,
Back.
on the west side of the track,
Yep.
you know, going toward your place there. Okay, well, the way I remember it, people named Thompson, where you got your sign there,
Mhm.
Chrono Depot, they moved it to there.
Yep.
And then you moved it over there.
Yep.
Is that correct or not?
Yes.
I mean, that is original, isn't it?
That's the original one from 1941.
well, if you
The
want.
original depot used to be down there where the big crane, you know, where they bend the pipe now, John Parsons, where that tank farm was. That original started right there,
Okay.
where you can see where the water tower was by the cement forms around it. And they moved it down to where all the work was after, I think it was in the 30s, I suppose. But they moved it down to the interchange where the NEO was bringing all the rubber tires and chat and stuff up from Galena, and they was interchanging it with the Missouri Pacific.
Well, anyway, if you want to know anything about the railroads in southeast Kansas, go to the Corona Depot, talk to Larry. Larry makes the magic happen over there. And they have a beautiful museum and a lot of information on the trains and what was what and who was who. This is the bad part of what's left. This is at the corner of, this is on Northwest 40th, just north of Highway 102, in what was once called, and it's still called, East Mineral. And this is a big refuge pile, and down at the bottom, that's actually black when you're looking at it. It's not just darkened because of the picture, it's black. And call that slurry. There's slurry down there, and there's these hills of refuge piles, and this was all the leavings from mining.
Yeah, the outer wall, that's a coarse refuge, and they used the coarse refuge to build a pond. And then they pumped the fines, which was 1/4x0 inside there, so the fine stuff would be inside that wall. The coarse stuff is the perimeter.
And they even mined some of this to get some of the stuff out later, right?
I
They
don't know whether
They tried, it didn't work?
I know they tried it 19,
Yeah,
but
but
I
they never
was
went
in
for
on
that.
checking that right about 1951, 52. They sent 3 of us up there to auger some coal out to find out what percentage of coal was in there, and the company did that. I don't know whether they had intentions of doing it, reclaiming it themselves or what, but,
And then there's the vault from Fidelity, that'd be about 1 3/4 north of 102, or is it 2 3/4? No, it's 1 3/4 on the west side of 40th, Northwest 40th, and this is the vault that was in the store and offices of Fidelity Coal. And that's still there. These things we're seeing now, you can go and see yourself
Stone
now.
City. That's Stone City is what they.
That's right, that's all Stone City. That's right. This is more refuge, dumps, leftovers from mining,
That's behind Primo.
and I don't know what that land will ever be
looks
good
familiar.
for.
Right by Primo's, north of Primo's. with
Okay.
the well.
This is on the west side of Northwest 40th. It's only about 3/4 miles north
Okay,
of
on the
102.
east side.
On the west side.
West side.
West side.
This is across from that hill. It's north of where the plant was.
That's
North of where
the
P&M was.
set.
Where Primo lived. Remember the well that used to be there? He got water from that well.
Yeah, that well was right on the mine site, or right close to it.
There you
Or
go.
the Temple site.
This here is the coke ovens that are left, and these are down on, oh no, I forgot to memorize the location. What is that, Star Valley, or is that, it's
I don't know.
on 40th. way down, it's like 7 miles south of West Mineral. But these were Central Coal and Coke. They took coal and put it in there and baked it.
Yeah, that's Cokedale is where that's at.
Yeah, Cokedale.
Yeah, the Missouri Pacific and the Katy crossed right there. And there was a mine there, and the coal was good enough to coke. And they had, how many did we count? 10 or 12? I don't know.
Yeah, well, they're hard to tell now because they are really covered up.
Yep.
The growth is really hidden them. I had to crawl in past growth to get these pictures. Oh, here we are to my favorite part. This is Cora Hubbard and her brother William Hubbard. Cora Hubbard lived in Weir, and she was an outlaw. And she always claimed when she was in Weir that she was a member of the Dalton gang. A lot of people poo-pooed it, said, no way. And she was 15 when the Dalton boys robbed 2 banks in Coffeyville and got all shot up and pretty much ended their career of crime. And she was only 15 at that time, so she'd have been pretty young. But the story is that they called her kid, and that there are some things that happened that made it pretty credible that she was at least knew them guys, and she run with them some. Now whether just exactly, but exactly what happened we may never know. But she had a Weir connection. She lived in Weir. She went to Coffeyville. She was with her husband, a man named Parker, and Bill and her brother. They planned a robbery. They were going to go to, William had lived in Pineville, and he claimed to know the way things worked in Pineville, Arkansas at the bank, and that they'd have a lot of money on a certain day. So they took off and went down there. But William, after it come time to go, said, no, I'm not going. And her husband Parker said he wasn't going. Well, she said, I'm not having nothing to do with a coward. And so she left her husband, took off with these other guys, Tennyson and another guy, and they went to Weir, stayed with her dad for a couple days, and then they took off and went to Pineville, and they robbed the bank and got in a shootout with the locals there.
That's her with the...
That's her there. She dressed like a man, and this is an article. Anyways, they robbed the bank, and they left town. They were being chased when they left town. Tennyson got shot. Her horse got shot. She was afoot for a while. Then she robbed somebody's horse and took off, and they ran out. They got away, except Tennyson got caught in Pineville. And Tennyson told the authorities there who she was and where she was from. And so by the time she got back to Weir, and then the authorities from Missouri came and arrested her in Weir. And this is an article here that I love this, because this is the Philadelphia Inquirer, and they did a big write-up on her. It says, brave and wickedest woman ever known in America. At last behind prison bars. So they did take her back to Pineville. They tried her and put her in prison for 12 years. She actually served 5 before her sentence was commuted, and she went. There's no record of her after her sentence was commuted and she was let go. So we don't know if she came back to Weir or where she went. But there are, to this day, Hubbards living in Weir, and I haven't been able to find out if they were related to her somehow.
What year was this?
Now, I knew you'd ask that. It was like 97 or something, 1897.
That's before my time, a little bit.
And I could be wrong on that. I meant to look that up so that I know. I knew. Why'd you ask? If you hadn't asked, nobody know. I don't know.
I'm trying to put a timeline on all this stuff.
But I love these cartoons because the newspapers didn't used to have pictures in them all the time, But they'd draw these wonderful drawings. And this is a depiction of the robbery in Pineville. And this is in the Philadelphia Inquirer, mind you. So this was a big story, And they cover Cora Hubbard as a lady outlaw. you know, in several stories about outlaws. She's called the next Belle Starr in some of them. And Sandra Stickson told me that Belle Starr used to come to Weir. Weir was a rough town. Weir was a place where anything could happen, and I think it's just the luck of the draw that Weir is not as famous as Dodge City. I think because there's not as many people there now is why Weir doesn't get the coverage, you know. And that's the end of that. But to me, this is my favorite story. I just think she's really an interesting character.
What about the gun she was supposed to be had at?
Oh, and that's at the end, when they arrested her at her home in Weir, the Dalton boys Bob Dalton had ordered from Colt 45, from Colt, six shooters, and they all had his name on it, Bob Dalton. And they found one of those guns in her house, in her dad's house there in Weir, when they arrested her. So that adds a lot of credibility to her claim that she ran with that gang.
Any idea where the gun is now?
Nope, I've seen pictures of guns with that on it, but I've never seen a picture that they said that's the gun that she had. But I want to thank you guys a lot for helping me through this.
Helping you get into it.
Oh,
That's a
man.
great presentation.
There'll be more said about this. You're not done with this, Jimmy. Thank you very much.
I want to thank David, and I know it takes the support of Connie Wallace to do this presentation, having to be so flexible and doing it a whole quarter later. So I think it's just probably better than it would have been anyway, so maybe it was good luck charm. And I want to thank the people that are here, and I want the audience that will be listening to this to know that we are practicing the social distancing and wearing of masks. And this has been our first real attempt of doing something, a formal presentation. But we are going to be publishing this online, so you'll be able to do it. I want to credit the voices that you heard, because we decided that one person standing up and talking to a camera wouldn't be very interesting or exciting for the presenter, and you need that feedback from the audience. So we have Jimmy Lovell, we have Carmen Bocci, we have Larry Spann. Is it Spawn or
Spawn.
Spawn? Okay, because I knew S-P-A-N-N, but you're S-P-A-H-N. Okay, that's Larry. Of course, David and his wife, Connie, Jerry Lomshak, and then Alan Roberts and myself associated with the museum. So we are only 8 in number. We're trying to keep these 10 and under. So if you are interested in any of the future programs, please call the museum or email us and see if you can get on one of the next 2 upcoming programs. So thank you again. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Good job.